go ahead and pull up the NFL playoff bracket and give our predictions for the first round of the playoffs this year. Siege, feel free to jump in. Let's go ahead and start with I. Whoops. There we go. Let's go ahead and start with the I guess the probably assuming to be the worst game of the weekend. Bills versus Dolphins. I have Bills winning this one pretty decidedly, but we'll start with you, Aaron. What do you think? Bills Dolphins game? Who do you have?
It all kind of comes down to, is Tua playing? Do we know?
No, he's out officially. He's officially out. Two is officially out.
I Teddy Two Gloves?
They don't know who's starting yet between those two. They just know
Questionable.
it's not Tua.
I think they have at least a decent shot if it's Tua or not Tua, Teddy. If not, I don't see them doing much. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
I mean, I like Tyreek as a Chiefs fan, but yeah, it's tough draw for them getting the Bills.
Yeah, for sure. Had Tua been healthy those last like 4 games or whatever it was, I think they'd be a 5 seed at least right now. Maybe even fight the Bills for that division title. But because Tua's out, I don't see a snowball's chance in hell. Even if Teddy Bridgewater would be their only saving grace between or their saving grace from a Bills just manhandling. But I don't see the Bills dropping this game to a was it Skylar Thompson? Is that his name?
That sounds right.
Yeah. Whoever the Dolphins' third string quarterback is, I don't see the Bills dropping that game, especially after the Damar Hamlin situation. They seem to be in pretty good shape. So yeah, they're riding high on that. What do you see? Do you have any opinions on NFL playoffs? Just go ahead and get that.
Uh, um, I mean, you guys saw my predictions in the group chat. Give me the Jags to win it all, baby.
Okay,
I'm
that's all you
playing.
need.
I'm playing. No, I think I really think that if the Bills and the 49ers take care of business, that honestly the two best playoff games are going to be that Kansas City Bills and Philadelphia 49ers game.
Yeah,
Like the whole playoffs. I think those are going to be the two best games.
yeah. Assuming those are the two NFC championship or the two conference championship games, I would agree with you. Because that'd be the only way those teams play each other respectively. But yeah, I I guess we'll move over to that San Francisco Seahawks game. Everybody has Frisco winning, kind of the same with the Bills beating the Dolphins. Is there any way Seattle comes out of that game, Aaron, on top?
No.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of what I think too. Really not much to talk about with that game, guys. Sorry.
I mean, their offense has struggled towards the latter half of the season, and
Yeah.
with the might of the 49ers defense, I just don't see it.
No, honestly, the Seahawks are happy to be here, ladies and gentlemen. They the Lions should have made it. I think the Lions would have beat the Niners. I'm just saying, but because
No.
okay, fair enough. No one out of those last. Well, do you think the Packers would have beat them?
I think if anybody would beat them of those three teams, it would have been the Packers.
I would agree.
The 49ers are the Aaron Rodgers killers, so.
That's true. That's that. I saw a meme today that said, like, man, the playoffs aren't going to be the same without the Niners eliminating Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. So, I guess we'll move on from that game, go to the Bengals Ravens. Lamar's doubtful for this game right now. It's possible he'll play, but just not very likely. Due to that, I have to pick the Bengals. It's not even close, assuming Lamar doesn't play. If Lamar plays, I think the Bengals still win, but it's a heck of a game. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, Bengals, I think their offense is just too overpowered for the Ravens, especially with a not fully healthy Lamar to compete against. So yeah, I mean, Bengals easily, I think.
Yeah, not much to discuss with that one either. Hopefully, with these next three, we get a little bit more interesting. Vikings, Giants. I actually have the Giants upsetting the Vikings in this one. I don't have a lot of faith in that Giants team. They've won a ton of games, which kind of is counterintuitive to my reason I picked TCU to win the Natty. But because the Vikings have been in so many close games, I don't think they're very good, dominant. Like, I don't think they're very dominant. I think the Giants' defense is. You said they were 11th. They were ranked 11th in the entire playoffs. I think that is a drastic underrating. I think the Giants' defense is top three in the NFC at least. Not in the NFL, but top three in the NFC playoffs. I should specify. I think the Giants are a top three defense in the NFC playoffs, which out of 7 teams may not seem like a lot, but when the 2 teams above you are the Cowboys and the Niners, in my opinion, Eagles fans and Aaron, I just think the Giants defense is going to be too much for Kirk Thuggins and the Vikings offense. Don't think the Vikings offense or defense is that good. I think Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley will be able to pretty much run through that Vikings defense. More Saquon than Daniel Jones. Unless Daniel Jones uses his legs. I think that's a better tool than his arm, in my opinion. But I think the Giants win, come out with an upset victory, move on to the second round of play. I guess it would be the Eagles, yeah. So, what do you think, Aaron? Vikings, Giants, who do you got?
I think what it comes down to, obviously, the weakness for the Giants is their offense, and the weakness for the Vikings is their defense.
Yep.
So, who do we think kind of carries each team? I personally think it's going to be the Vikings offense that kind of
That's fair.
pulls through, and they end up pulling out probably a close win over the Giants.
Yeah, I think again I have the Giants winning, but I think if the Vikings win, it will be fairly close game, hopefully. Or I could also honestly see the Vikings just blowing them the fuck out of the water. So who knows? But you did have Justin Jefferson as your MVP sleeper, dark horse, earlier this year. So not surprised you picked the Vikings in this one against a overachieving Giants team. Let's just say. Moving on to that, our last first round matchup in the AFC, we got Jaguars Chargers. By odds, I still pick the upset, which was the Jaguars in this case. I just think that the Chargers have a history of losing close games at the end, and I think that will eventually come back to bite them in this game specifically. I think it'll be a close game all the way through. Both defenses are pretty bad, but both offenses are pretty good. So I do think the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is a little bit better than the Chargers defense. Chargers defense was puffed up to be a huge threat at the beginning of the year, and then they ended up getting a lot of injuries and just some underperforming as well. So I have the Jags defense are a little bit better than the Chargers, and I just Chargers are known to lose close games down the stretch. So I think that's going to end up happening in this game. But what do you think, Aaron? Chargers or Jags?
Man, it's a tough one. I mean, Chargers have a lot of injuries.
Yeah. Might I add, Mike Williams is also questionable for this weekend with a back issue. I'm not sure exactly what the injury is, but I do know he is it's a 50-50 chance whether Mike Williams plays or not. Assuming he doesn't, Jacksonville is definitely my favorite, but go
ahead. I have faith that the Chargers will win one game in the playoffs on the back of Justin Herbert
but they did
and I'm not. I'm saying they will this time.
Okay.
They will definitely make the right decision on several fourth downs and not go for it when they shouldn't.
As Brandon Staley has a history of doing.
Yes. Continuing that trend.
Yes.
Um,
Just like last year when the playoffs were on the line against the Raiders.
I think it becomes a shootout, and I think Herbert guts it out over Trevor Lawrence to give him heartbreak in his first playoffs.
I will say, if it comes down to a shootout, the Chargers win. I do agree with that, but I don't think it will. I think similar to Week 18, where the Jags beat the Titans, I think it'll come down to a big defensive play by the Jags down the stretch that end up sealing the game. But let's move on to our last first round matchup: Buccaneers Dallas. I have the GOAT Tom Brady overcoming the odds, 3-point odds, but they're still odds. I have the Buccaneers advancing to the second round, beating Dallas partially because it's Tom Brady, but also partially because it's the Dallas Cowboys and they love to lose in the first round. So why think anything different of them? I think they've only won 2 playoff games since Troy Aikman was quarterback for them. So I can't root. I can definitely root against Brady. I can't pick against Brady in a matchup that's probably only going to be decided by one possession. But go ahead.
I think the Cowboys win, and I hate to say it, but I do. But if they lose, it's not because the Bucs are a better team. It's because the Cowboys love to do Cowboys things, and it'll be a Dak turnover late probably. That'll cost them, especially considering he's tied for the league in interceptions, even having missed 5 weeks. So, yeah, I think the Cowboys pull out a close one.
So not only do I think Dak will turn it over late, but I think he'll turn it over late with the lead, and Tom Brady will march down the field with 2 minutes left or less, and win the Bucs a playoff game this year after an atrocious season by his standards. Sub 500 record, but I do somehow think the Buccaneers will make it past the Dallas Cowboys and move on to the second round to play. I guess if I have the Giants winning, they would play the Niners. So, Mazel tov, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else to go on over with this NFL playoff bracket. Obviously, the Chiefs and the Eagles are not playing this weekend. They both have byes as the number 1 seed. Whether you like it or not, Buffalo, the Chiefs have the 1 seed, so suck it. Obviously, due to unforeseen circumstances, and our hearts and prayers go out to Damar Hamlin and his family and all involved. But, yeah, I guess moving on from that, I don't really have anything else to say unless with the NFL, unless either of you have anything to
No, not really.